Carnegie was ambitious, hardworking, and showed a knack for making smart investments.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down the wealthiest people of all time, both in terms of personal fortune and, in many cases, through having total control over the purse strings of entire nations or empires.
Towering above all others, his brilliant military career was encapsulated in three famous words: Veni, Vidi, Vici.
The figures are estimates based on inflation-adjusted values, including for controlled assets such as land and resources. Number 20. Alan Rufus, England, $194 billion. Alan the Red played a pivotal role in the Norman conquest of England. Through his military service and loyalty, he was awarded extensive lands. His estates were vast, generating enormous revenues from the agricultural outputs and the administrative fines he imposed. His wealth at the time of his death was estimated to be around £11,000, which was a colossal sum in the medieval period. In today's terms, this fortune would be equivalent to billions. And his holdings were not just in land. He held significant influence in the burgeoning economic system of feudal England. His financial acumen ensured that his net worth grew through strategic marriages and investments in burgeoning market towns and ports, which increased his revenues further. Number 19. Vladimir Putin, Russia, $200 billion. This despotic former KGB agent has held power as Russia's president or prime minister since 1999 and is often described as a key figure in a kleptocratic political system.
President Putin's official income is around $100,000 a year, and yet he lives like the super-rich.
Various sources and investigative reports allege that Putin has accumulated enormous personal wealth through a combination of seizing control over major segments of the Russian economy, particularly in the energy sector, and receiving kickbacks from oligarchs who benefit from state contracts and protections. Estimates from some sources suggest Putin's worth could be as high as $200 billion, hidden across a complex network of undisclosed assets, ranging from stakes in major oil and gas companies to significant holdings in other sectors through proxies.
Stanislav Belkovsky claimed Putin had secret shareholdings in some of Russia's biggest companies.
Number 18. Nathan Mayer Rothschild, England, $250 billion. Starting his career in Frankfurt before relocating to England in 1798, Nathan Mayer Rothschild founded the influential bank N.M. Rothschild & Sons, which became a cornerstone in the development of international finance. He revolutionized banking by facilitating extensive government loans, crucially supporting Britain's military campaigns during the Napoleonic Wars.
Nathan invests William's fortune in the London stock market.
Rothschild's financial acumen was most famously demonstrated when he capitalized on advanced news of Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo, multiplying his wealth. His innovative financial strategies not only amassed a great fortune, but set new standards that shaped the banking industry for generations.
Nathan smuggles gold from England to the continent, where James and the other sons then distribute it to the states united against Napoleon.
Number 17. King Croesus, Lydia, $345 billion. The last king of Lydia, an ancient kingdom in western Anatolia, King Croesus I's reign marked the pinnacle of the empire's power and riches. His kingdom thrived due to the gold-rich sands of the Pactolus River, which enabled Croesus to mint the first true gold coins with standardized purity, fundamentally changing trade and economic structures of that era. These innovations not only established his reputation for unprecedented wealth, they influenced the development of monetary systems worldwide. His legendary riches became synonymous with opulence, inspiring the phrase, "rich as Croesus." However, his prosperous reign ended abruptly when he was defeated by Persian King Cyrus the Great in 546 BCE, altering the region's power dynamics. Number 16. Cyrus the Great, Persia, $350 billion.
Cyrus the Great is one of the few who deserves to be called the Great.
Speaking of Cyrus, he didn't just defeat Croesus, he founded the Achaemenid Empire, which at its peak stretched from the Balkans to the Indus Valley. His conquests brought immense wealth, particularly through the subjugation of powerful city-states and the control of key trade routes across Asia. Cyrus implemented innovative administrative practices that increased economic stability and growth across his empire.
By 554 BC, Cyrus had crushed all rivals and became the undisputed leader of Persia.
His policies included respect for local customs and religions, which fostered loyalty and facilitated smoother integration of conquered lands. This approach not only solidified his empire's wealth, but also ensured its longevity, making him one of the richest rulers in history.
He didn't live long enough to show what really he could have done outside the battlefield.
Number 15, John D. Rockefeller, USA, $350 billion. An iconic figure in the annals of American history, Rockefeller founded the Standard Oil Company in 1870, which monopolized the oil industry and became the world's first great business trust. His aggressive business strategies and innovative practices in the oil sector allowed him to control most of the oil production, refining, and distribution in the United States, leading to unprecedented personal wealth. By the time he retired, his fortune was unmatched, making him arguably the richest person in modern history. Rockefeller's worth was so huge that his family's philanthropic endeavors could be funded for generations, reshaping educational, cultural, and scientific institutions worldwide. Number 14, Andrew Carnegie, USA, $371 billion. Rising from modest beginnings to become one of the most influential industrialists in American history, Carnegie built his empire in the steel industry.
Who started from nothing and created an empire in steel.
He revolutionized construction and manufacturing in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And by the time of his retirement, that commercial empire had made him one of the wealthiest individuals ever.
So by 1901, Andrew Carnegie is one of the richest men in the world.
This immense prosperity was largely directed towards philanthropy, with Carnegie funding the establishment of libraries, universities, and various cultural institutions. His profound impact means that he's today remembered as, yes, one of the richest people ever to have lived, but also one of the most charitable.
After 1901, Andrew Carnegie dedicated the remainder of his life to philanthropy and giving away his vast personal fortune.
Number 13, Mansa Musa, Mali, $400 billion. Ascending to the throne of the Mali Empire around 1312, Mansa Musa expanded his empire to include a large part of West Africa, reaching immense wealth, primarily through the region's substantial gold and salt mines.
Many believe Mansa Musa's wealth outdoes that of all modern billionaires.
His legendary pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324 demonstrated his riches on a scale previously unseen. Historians report that he traveled with a caravan, including thousands of soldiers and camels carrying gold. Musa's lavish spending and generous donations throughout the journey majorly impacted the economies of the regions through which he traveled.
So much gold was handed out that the Cairo economy crashed and would not recover for 10 years.
His wealth was so staggering that it is often described as being impossible to quantify accurately, firmly establishing him as one of the richest individuals in history.
Despite his global legacy, Mansa Musa has largely disappeared from the Western historical imagination.
Number 12, Alexander the Great, Greece, $500 billion. Inheriting the kingdom of Macedon from his father Philip II, Alexander embarked on a series of conquests that would dramatically expand his dominion, eventually covering territories from Greece to northern India. His conquests brought under his control some of the wealthiest regions of the ancient world, notably Egypt and Persia.
All of Persia, its capital city, and literally tons of gold and silver bullion belong to Alexander.
The treasuries of these lands, especially the legendary city of Persepolis, significantly augmented his fortune.
This made him the richest man in the known world.
Alexander's ability to control and redistribute the immense resources of these areas not only funded his continuous military campaigns, it facilitated the spread of Greek culture and influence across his empire. His wealth, although immense, was primarily used to maintain and expand his territories.
He could do what he liked. He could call himself God if he wanted.
Number 11, Attila the Hun, Hunnic Empire, $500 billion. Known to have been widely feared throughout the Roman Empire, Attila wielded power through sheer intimidation across much of Europe.
Attila the Hun stands as one of the most ruthless, if not the most ruthless, military leaders of all time.
Leading the Huns from 434 until his death in 453, Attila amassed his fortune primarily through plunder and tribute. His campaigns forced many kingdoms to pay substantial tributes to avoid his wrath, thereby funneling enormous resources into his control.
The Romans cave. Instead of trusting in their defenses, they throw gold at Attila, to make him go away.
Despite his reputation for savagery, Attila's strategic acumen in leveraging both military and economic tactics enhanced his influence. His treasure troves, filled with gold and precious items from raids, underscored his status as a formidable ruler in the ancient world.
Attila may be history's first great terrorist. He succeeded in building enormous wealth.
Number 10. Catherine the Great, Russia, $1.5 trillion. Catherine took the Russian throne after the coup that overthrew her husband Peter III, and then expanded the Russian Empire and solidified her status as one of its most powerful rulers.
The German princess who will make history as Catherine the Great.
Her reign saw the annexation of far-flung territories, including parts of Poland, Crimea, and the North Caucasus, which significantly increased the empire's wealth through the acquisition of fertile lands and strategic trade routes. Catherine's clever use of political and economic policies attracted foreign investors and stimulated domestic industry, contributing to a flourishing economy.
It's the landowning nobles who prop up the crown, and the new empress understands well the importance of keeping them happy.
Her personal prosperity was immense, supporting a lavish court and grand architectural projects that symbolized her power and status. These investments aimed to modernize and westernize Russia.
Catherine was a brilliant politician, and she realized that politics is the art of the possible.
Number 9. King Solomon, Israel, $2.2 trillion. Legendary for his wisdom, Solomon presided over Israel during its golden age. Although the archaeological record is not definitive, his era was marked by extensive international trade and diplomatic alliances that boosted the kingdom's resources. Gifts and tributes flowed to Solomon from dignitaries worldwide, enriching his treasury with gold, exotic spices, and precious stones.
Inside, the walls were overlaid with pure gold.
His most celebrated project, the first temple in Jerusalem, exemplified his financial power and architectural ambition.
And he was so committed to having the best temple in the region that he actually imports the finest materials to build this temple.
This temple not only stood as a spiritual center, it housed massive quantities of gold and treasures, including those from the famously rich Ophir. Solomon's management and economic strategies fostered a period that has become legendary in history.
Upon his death, Solomon reportedly left behind an enormous amount of gold and other riches in his magnificent temple.
Number 8. Amenhotep III, Egypt, $4 trillion. Ruling ancient Egypt beginning around 1386 BCE, Amenhotep III presided over a period of unprecedented prosperity and artistic flourishing.
In my opinion, Amenhotep III was ancient Egypt's greatest pharaoh.
His reign is characterized by extensive building projects, including the construction of magnificent temples and a royal palace, which showcased the mastery of his era. The pharaoh's diplomatic strategies played a crucial role in maintaining peace and enhancing Egypt through trade and tribute from neighboring states.
Amenhotep wore gold from top to toe, and he handed it out to his courtiers as gifts.
His reign saw the importation of luxury items like incense and ivory, alongside large amounts of gold from Nubia, solidifying his status as one of the richest rulers of the ancient world. Amenhotep III's legacy is vividly immortalized in the artifacts and monuments that survive today, reflecting the opulence of his reign.
Amenhotep was able to utilize his key resource, his gold, to kind of get everything he wanted.
Number 7. Augustus Caesar, Roman Empire, $4.6 trillion. During the reign of Augustus Caesar, the Roman Empire saw a transformation into a period of prosperity known as the Pax Romana. As the first Roman emperor, Augustus solidified his fortune through the expansion of the empire and the establishment of a centralized imperial treasury.
This man launched the rise of the Roman Empire, Augustus.
He implemented economic reforms that stabilized the currency and enhanced public wealth by fostering trade across the empire's network of roads and ports. The spoils of his war campaigns further swelled the imperial coffers, particularly after the defeat of Egypt, which brought its immense treasures into Roman control.
During his reign, Rome becomes a world power, and Roman culture is at its peak.
By annexing Egypt, Augustus gained direct control over its grain, crucial for feeding the Roman populace, and its gold mines, which filled the imperial treasury.
4 times I came to the assistance of the treasury with my own money, Augustus said.
Number 6. Julius Caesar, Roman Republic. $5 trillion. The iconic Caesar augmented his personal wealth and that of Rome through conquest and clever financial policies. His most lucrative campaign was the conquest of Gaul, where he expanded Roman territories and seized huge quantities of war spoils.
In an age when a general benefited directly from the spoils of war, he became incredibly wealthy.
These included gold and silver, which were crucial in funding his political ambitions back in Rome. He initiated the issuance of new coinage, increasing the money supply, which helps to alleviate Rome's debt crisis.
He acquired a vast amount of honors, some of which raised him to almost divine status.
These actions, combined with his strategic use of wealth to gain political allies and support among the populace, were instrumental in consolidating his power and influence, showcasing a multifaceted approach to accumulation and management.
In 44 BC, the pinnacle of his career had been achieved. He was voted dictator for life.
Number 5. Joseph Stalin, USSR, $7.5 trillion. As a dictator of a communist state, Stalin didn't accumulate wealth in the form of private assets, properties, or bank accounts typical for other historical figures. His quote-unquote wealth was essentially the ability to control and allocate the resources of the entire Soviet Union. The state seized assets from the peasantry and funneled them into industrial growth, which was essential for infrastructural development.
During what many historians term Stalin's reign of terror, no one was safe from his ambition.
By channeling the wealth of the nation into state-controlled sectors, Stalin amassed a massive economic power base. Moreover, Stalin's regime often appropriated fortunes through purges and the confiscation of property from perceived enemies of the state. This eliminated his rivals and redirected their assets to state coffers, further enhancing his control.
He raised it to a level that it had not been before.
Number 4. Empress Wu, China, $16 trillion.
To have a woman with such power really threatened the establishment.
Empress Wu Zetian increased her wealth and that of the Tang dynasty through strategic economic reforms and expansions. Her rule was marked by the strengthening of the central bureaucracy, which included revamping the agricultural tax system to increase efficiency and fairness. This adjustment led to more stable and increased revenue for the state, bolstering the dynasty's treasury.
She made China a better place for women, the empire wealthy and peaceful.
Empress Wu expanded the Chinese empire's borders, securing control over key trade routes that enhanced commercial prosperity. Under her leadership, the Silk Road flourished, facilitating lucrative trade in silk, spices, and ceramics with Central Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. This brought enormous riches into China and increased its cultural and political influence across Asia.
Silk Road trade not only made Wu's empire wealthy, it brought so many foreigners to China.
Number 3. Akbar the Great, India, $22 trillion. Yet another ruler on this list known as the Great. Akbar was one of the most illustrious rulers of the Mughal Empire, known for expanding its territory. His reign saw the incorporation of vast regions of the Indian subcontinent through both conquests and alliances, substantially increasing the empire's revenues. The wealth of the Mughal Empire under Akbar was evidenced by his sponsorship of large-scale architectural projects, including the construction of the Agra Fort and the city of Fatehpur Sikri, which served not only as administrative centers, but as symbols of the empire's prosperity and Akbar's absolute rule. He fostered international trade by opening up markets to European traders. Number 2. Emperor Shenzong of Song, China, $30 trillion. Ruling from 1067 until his death in 1085, this emperor was instrumental in enhancing the economic foundation of one of China's most financially successful eras. He implemented the Wang On-shi reforms, which revitalized the state's revenue system through reconstructed taxation, government monopolies on essential goods, and improved agricultural loans. These reforms increased state control over the economy, thereby boosting the treasury. Shenzong's reign saw the expansion of the jiaozi, an early form of paper money, which facilitated trade and commerce across the empire. This innovation improved the efficiency of the economy and increased the central government's control over the monetary system. His strategic economic policies and enhancements to fiscal systems substantially elevated the wealth and stability of the Song dynasty.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Number 1. Genghis Khan, Mongolia, $100 trillion. Genghis Khan, founder of the Mongol Empire, amassed an unparalleled fortune through his conquests across Asia and Europe.
History records him as a brutal butcher.
Born in 1162, he expanded his empire to become the largest contiguous land empire in history. This expansion facilitated access to a multitude of resources and wealth, primarily through plunder and the imposition of tribute across the territories he subdued.
Genghis Khan now felt powerful enough to explore beyond the vastness of the steppe.
The goods extracted from conquered lands included gold and silver, and also valuable silk and spices, essential commodities in international trade at the time. Genghis Khan's strategies integrated the sophisticated economic systems of the regions he conquered, such as the Silk Road, further enhancing the economic might of the Mongol Empire. His ability to control and redistribute riches underpinned the empire's entire economy.
So for 150 years, his personality absolutely imbued the empire.
What other titans of commerce and government could have made this list? Let us know in the comments.
But the Macedonians are very wealthy. They control areas filled with gold and silver mines.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.